Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book review. This is going to be for A Shade of Madness by Thiago Abdalla. This is a epic fantasy, high fantasy, dark fantasy, quite a bit, military fantasy, political fantasy, kind of all those genres that kind of go together oftentimes. I think some people would probably classify it as grimdark. I'm not sure that I would. There's a lot, you know what, my understanding what grimdark is as a genre, I don't have a great understanding of what it is, and I probably should explore it a little bit more. And I suppose that I keep saying that grimdark generally isn't for me. That's something that I've said a fair amount, and I'm not sure that I know well enough what grimdark is in order for me to accurately say that. Although I do think it's probably true. But anyways, let's go into this. A Shade of Madness is the second book in the Ashes of Avarin series by Thiago Abdalla. This is a self-published novel that follows the events of A Touch of Light. So A Touch of Light was book one, while adding depth and complexity to the story, the characters, and the world. With our three main characters, there's already a ton going on in the story, and that is only furthered here as we start to find some answers only to be given more questions. Before I get into the main body of this review though, I just quickly like to say welcome to an Erudite adventure. I'm T. If you're liking what you're seeing from us, please like, comment, and subscribe. So it did take me way too long to get to this book. I first read A Touch of Light in 2022, and then again in 2023 because I couldn't remember the details well enough to move on. And at that point, book two had come out, and I was like, okay, well, I want to reread book one before I read book two so that I can actually understand what's going on. Then it still took me almost another year to get back to A Shade of Madness. Almost 2 years to get back to A Shade of Madness. Finally, I did though, and I'm so glad that I did. Each of our characters has become far more fascinating to me, and Abdalla takes them in directions that I wasn't really expecting. I was a little bit surprised by the story that he chose to tell with each of these characters. But it also makes perfect sense due to the story being told, the overall story of the series that's being told, and the battles that are being fought within the series. So the characters' journeys make a lot of sense even though they weren't really what I was expecting. There is so much politics and military action in this book, and you're learning how everything fits together as our characters are, kind of at the same time as our characters are discovering the intricacies, discovering the way that the puzzle pieces fit together. You're also able to discover them, and so that's kind of fun where you're seeing where you're kind of walking alongside the characters as they get to learn more things. It's not just some simple fight the Dark Lord story. There's so many threads all at the same time that are woven together and to create what is going on, this overarching story of the Ashes of Avarin series. Faith and religion are being tied into the story in a very natural and believable way. There is war, there is disease, there is politics, magic, corruption, and so many aspects. And the title, A Shade of Madness, is a very apt but inadequate description of what is going on. This concept of a shade of madness is just a shade of it. There's so much more than just a shade of madness that's going on. Of course, it is referring to the disease that affects both the physical and mental well-being of a person, but as you dig into things, you see that it is talking about so much more than just that. And that's really fun for me to see. Something that I always really like is when there's kind of a twofold layer to a title, where there's something very obvious, something very on the nose, something very, I guess you could say, like a physical manifestation of the book title. But then when there's also this more metaphysical meaning to it as well, that's something that I really like in book titles, when there's this obvious and then a little bit more subtle meaning to a book title. I really like that. I really appreciate that. And that's absolutely what we're getting with A Touch of Light and A Shade of Madness. And so I really like both of those book titles. Plus, I love the world building in this series. The mixture of magic, griffins, airships, religion, politics, and nations is a great combination, and something that the complexity feels realistic, not that it's just complicated for the sake of being complicated. And I really like that. I really like how realistic it feels, and while also very clearly feeling like magic and fantasy. He does a very good blend of making all these things work together in a realistic manner. It absolutely is a bit complicated, and it takes paying attention. There's no denying that. There's some complexity to this story, to this book, to what's going on, to the story being told. That's absolutely there. But Abdalla has a great voice as an author, and the audiobooks are fantastic. It is not hard to follow. It just requires some concentration. And I think that's important to understand. These are not ones that you're just going to be able to put on in the background while you're doing some other task that's taking your attention. You have to be able to actually concentrate on the story in order to see what's going on. But it's not something where if you are not paying attention and writing down notes of every single thing that's going on, you're going to get lost. It's not that type of story. You just have to make sure that you're actually able to pay attention while you're reading or listening to it. It is great storytelling, in my opinion, and I really enjoy this series a ton. I think that it's really fun, really good. There's so much more to come, and I'm very excited for the next book in the series. I don't know when to expect it, but I know that it will be good when it comes out because these first two books have been fantastic. Overall, I feel like this is a fantastic continuation to the series and an excellent book. And that's really my review of A Shade of Madness. Is just, I had a great time with this book and with this story, and I'm very excited to read the next book. I don't know if this series will be like a top 3 or top 5 favorite series of all time for me. It'll depend on the rest of the books in the series and how I feel about them as they come out and stuff like that. But it is absolutely one where I'm very glad to have read it, very impressed with what I'm reading. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's not something that I feel like is a waste of my time by any means or anything like that. So absolutely, very much enjoying this series, and very much enjoyed A Shade of Madness. So anyways, that is my review of A Shade of Madness by Thiago Abdalla, book 2 of the Ashes of Avarin series. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and have our social medias linked in the description down below. We will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.